Welcome to the Knightline Podcast, your source for UCF football and former UCF player information. Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and you are listening to the Knightline Podcast. To my left, as always,
is the one and only Troy Ondrizek. Thank you for listening.
All right, here we are. This is episode number 7. It is Sunday.
How long are you going to keep counting the episodes?
I just think that we should tell people what episode they're listening to.
Fair enough, I can buy that.
It's for cataloging purposes. All right. Anyway, so episode number 7. We're here today. It is September 7th, Sunday.
Of 2014.
Of 2014, yes. Are we recording?
We are. Let's keep going.
Good. All right. So this week there was not a whole ton of recruiting and news and stuff like that, but there was a heck of a lot of football. We had a lot of football this week.
About time.
So we're gonna recap the entire weekend, pretty much, of especially teams from the American.
Got to know your opponents.
We're going to break down a little bit of NFL news from today because there, was some players from UCF playing. We are going to there's going to be some quotes about the game last week from some UCF people. We're going to do Kurt's questions, of course. We're going to do a Mizzou preview. We're going to do our picks. And I'm going to start it off right here with George O'Leary saying Holman is the starting quarterback. Oh,
man, that relieves a few fears. I've bought into George O'Leary as a coach. He's done a great job with our program. It doesn't mean that he doesn't make me a little nervous at times, being a little stubborn, and possibly trying to prove a point, keeping DeNovo in there. J.J. Wharton, I think, made a comment on how O'Leary told Holman if he was a 3-and-out, he was out of there. But to try to motivate him, supposedly. So leaves you to wonder a little bit, but Holman really stepped up. I'm glad that O'Leary and the rest of the coaching staff have seen that. And
talking about putting a lot of pressure on somebody and putting the fear in them, that would definitely do it. 3-and-out, and you're gone.
I know you got to prove something.
Yeah,
I mean, at that point in the game,
he should have told DeNovo that. We wouldn't have had this problem.
Listen, we touch on that. So many people touch on that. He looked good in practice.
And okay, seriously, people. No more death threats or whatever.
No one proved that there were any death threats.
Seriously. I mean, not on Holman, but on DeNovo. That's stupid, though.
The one thing that I did notice or heard about was some students in one of the dorms put up a petition to remove DeNovo's scholarship, and that's going a bit too far. That's the one thing that I thought was a little, I didn't see any death threats, didn't hear any death threats. Went on Twitter, little research, saw nothing. Were people pissed off? Yes. Did some people take it a little too personal? Absolutely. But that's college football. People are more passionate about college football than politics and religion sometimes.
Yeah, somebody was talking about that there was death threats, so I think that's kind of ridiculous. So we will put that behind us and hope that was not the case.
And we're moving forward with Holman as our starting quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to get these UCF quotes out of the way real quick. These come from UCFsports.com. And Brandon Helwig there does an awesome job and helps us out tremendously by giving good content on that website. And as many people as possible should go there and sign up.
This is a free plug for Brandon, by the way, because we get a lot of supplemental information from there. It's a good place for a lot of dedicated UCF fans to interact with each other.
And if you're listening, you're probably on there anyway, so... Because I know I've done a lot of posts on there as far as, kind of advertising our podcast. So
any of them worthwhile?
Our posts? My posts?
Yeah.
I try to kind of stay out of certain things, but...
Oh, that's a benefit.
Yeah. Anyway, so J.J. Wharton this week said about the Penn State game. This is the last time that we're going to talk about this Penn State game, but I wanted to get these quotes out.
Don't say the last time. We'll probably touch on it, but...
Well, we're not going to,
In the foreseeable future.
Right. Yeah, so JJ says that it left a sour taste in our mouth, basically, and it's something we're not used to. It's something we don't like. We all know what happened. We know our adjustments, and we're going to come back even stronger. He also said when he was asked about Holman, he said he came in with high energy. Coach O'Leary, I guess on the sideline, told him if you go 3 and out and you're not going in again, literally his career was on the line. He came in and made plays when he had to. Luckily, Bashard Perryman made that great catch on the goal line and kept us going. That gave us a lot of momentum going into the second half. He also said, you live and learn. It's still a loss on the schedule. I'm not going to make any promises, but we're not going to lose a game like that again.
When you first started those quotes, I thought you were reading off Jameson's quotes, not Wharton's. But as far as what JJ had to say, it was kind of ambiguous. However, I hope this really motivates him, not to lose a game like that again. Seeing, Mizzou and BYU play this weekend, it gives us a little bit of worry. Are they not going to lose a close one again? That's what I'm hoping for. Some rhythm on the offense and to help alleviate some of the pressure on the defense moving forward. And if they feel confident with their quarterback, then that's fantastic.
Yeah, speaking of this weekend, BYU and Texas. Holy Moses.
I wonder if Charlie Strong was complaining that the better team didn't win this game.
Yeah, well, I don't like him anyway, so...
You don't have to like him. He's the Texas coach.
Yeah, I could care less what he thinks. But BYU put it on him. I mean, just put it on him. The score was 41-7.
That's rough.
Yeah. Well, Taysom Hill, the quarterback for BYU, had 181 yards passing and 99 yards rushing himself. It was pretty much all him, I believe.
Oh, that's only 280 yards.
Right. But, I mean, yeah.
But
they had 421 yards altogether.
That's a solid offense.
248 yards rushing, and 99 of it was the quarterback.
That's called ball control.
Yeah. That's called where did this guy come from, and why didn't we recruit him, number one.
Well, don't worry about who we did not recruit.
What year is he?
I have no clue. I do not follow BYU much, and I'm going to have to start following BYU, so that's my fault.
Obviously, because this is... I wasn't nearly as worried about them coming to Bright House. Thank God this game is at home. I think that will give us a better opportunity. But, wow. Well, and their game last week as well was their first game was pretty impressive too, I remember.
We always play to the level of our competition. Always.
It's true.
So I'm not overly worried about, nor am I predicting we're going to, like I did the Penn State game, that we were going to hammer them. However, if Holman was in there, we would have hammered them.
Yeah, I think so.
But
it would have been a totally different story. But that's...
Next week's going to tell us quite a bit about where our program's at right now.
Next week is... First...
Moving on down the American, UConn, they're in a terrible situation. That's just a bad football team. The expression goes, if you have two starting quarterbacks, you have no starting quarterbacks. They have two starting quarterbacks that are both terrible right now. They won 19-16 over, powerhouse Stony Brook.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually took a punt return in the third quarter to break that game open for them, and they had to stop a 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter to keep themselves in the lead, even though they would have still been in the lead, but it would have given Stony Brook the chance because they had time on the clock to get the ball back and kick a field goal. Moving down to Tulsa. They got
hammered.
They had a great comeback win against Tulane. They're playing Oklahoma. Get everything. You're just amped up. And
did you actually get to see any of that game?
I saw Oklahoma's highlights.
Okay. There were not very many people in that stadium. It was at Tulsa, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But there were not very many Tulsa fans in the stadium. That's not good. I know it's in Oklahoma, and it's not far from Stillwater. Or Norman, I'm sorry, where Oklahoma plays. Stillwater is Oklahoma State. But still, you should at least, when I tuned into the game, it looked like an Oklahoma home game in a much smaller stadium. That's sad.
All right. Are you a Magic fan at all?
No.
All right. was going to say, if you're a Magic fan, a lot of people don't go to the Magic games knowing they're going to lose.
Yeah.
I would still support UCF if we were playing a team. If the UCF was playing the Chicago Bears, because this is pretty much the difference in talent, then I would still go to the game to support UCF. Tulsa, maybe there's just some country bars to go to.
A couple of years ago, they were a decent team. I don't know.
2 years ago.
I don't know what's happened. Yeah, that's a couple.
Good point.
The American in a whole, to me, does not look very good.
Well,
we better not lose any games in the American. We need to beat all these guys. There were a couple positive things. East Carolina really looked pretty decent against South Carolina.
Shane Carden's a good quarterback. Sleeper. Memphis looked pretty decent against UCLA, too.
And
a lot of people have UCLA going in that playoff. They haven't winning the Pac-12.
How about North Texas? Oh, wait, they're in Conference USA.
The Mean Green of North Texas. Listen,
43-6 over SMU.
They ran the ball. The Pony Express, completely outdated, because the Mean Green of North Texas racked up nearly 600 yards on the ground.
Wow.
They just the time of possession was like 39 minutes to like 21. It was impressive how much the Mean Green controlled that game. Same thing could be said of Georgia Tech and Tulane. Georgia Tech with that triple option game plan. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
If I was a recruit, why would I go to Air Force or Georgia Tech or Navy to run that system? However, they use it to take down Tulane. Tulane they have a good young quarterback in Tanner Lee. In a couple years down the road, we're gonna have some issues with that kid.
Yeah,
but he couldn't dig him out of a hole. And who else just got literally ran over?
Grambling State by Houston. I can tell you that.
Grambling State won one game last year.
That's fine, but Houston put 47 points, 47-0.
Who did Houston lose to last week?
I don't remember, but they shouldn't have.
I'm not that worried about Houston.
I'm not either. I'm not really worried about any of these people, especially
I'm worried
USF.
about Memphis, East Carolina. USF almost beat Maryland.
I don't know if they almost beat Maryland.
They were in the game.
They have a running back, but I think that's about it.
Every team has a running back.
Now, they have a pretty good running back is what I mean by that.
I know what you mean.
But, whatever.
The game that I was really interested in was Temple and Navy. Navy's going to join the conference next
that was
year.
Probably the best game out of any of the American games.
And PJ Walker
this week
is a talented another young quarterback in this conference that's going to give us trouble down the road and can give us trouble, in the near future. Temple's a good program. Okay, let me back that up. Temple's an okay program, but they're on the ascendancy. And Navy's always been solid for the most part, so we're going to add some depth, skipping over Texas San Antonio, led by Larry Coker, which I love the fact that last year that offensive line had 0 penalties called on them.
Wow.
Just how well coached they are.
That is impressive.
They're a solid football team. They're 1-1. They just lost at the last moments of the game against a high-profile P5 team. So we skipped them and we took Tulsa. Tulane's going to come up. This is their first home game on campus in over 40 years.
The stadium looked fairly nice, too.
It did.
It looked like a nice little stadium.
I really like the addition of Tulane. Tulsa, as you talked about with the issues of their fans not showing up, and then consequently their team not showing up either. That
might be a good trip to New Orleans next year, because I think that we probably play Tulane in New Orleans. That'd be kind of a fun trip to go to New Orleans. I don't know.
New Orleans is always a fun time.
We were kind of looking for a reason to go to New Orleans, so that might be it.
That's how
we were going to try to go last year when we all thought we were playing in the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, never happened. So.
It's all right. I like the bowl game we got.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was all good. In fact, I'm wearing my good night shirt today.
You are indeed.
It's
nice to see you not wearing the Kansas City Chiefs because they lost.
Well, yeah,
or Kansas shirt.
The Chiefs didn't do very good. My Jayhawks did win. They almost got their butts kicked by a FCS team, which wouldn't really be shocking. But anyway, I think next that we're going to do Kurt's questions, because that's going to lead us right into the gist of our conversation today. The Missouri game coming up, Missouri preview.
All right, cue that geriatric jingle.
All right, Knight fans, welcome to this episode of Kurt's Questions, featuring Kurt Searcy. All right, Kurt's first question this week. UCF gave up 454 yards passing versus Penn State. Mizzou averages 251.5 per game and 44.5 points per game. What can the Knight defense do to slow them down?
First, I have a question for you.
Oh, boy.
You do a good job, but can we get Chuck Lowry? Like, is he still alive? Can we get him to do the voiceover on the intro to Kurt's Questions?
That would be cool. Because it was the whole, the thing was the dating game.
You have a really nice voice.
That was what that was supposed to be, like, all right, bachelor number one.
I mean, I'm sure we can go to some nursing home and find. Anyways, to Kurt's question, the 251 passing yards per game, that doesn't bother me so much as the 44.5 points per game. That bothers me. Is there anything the defense can do to slow them down? The answer is yes. Get some pressure on Mauk. Our defensive line did not generate a lot of pressure last season, and against Penn State, in an inexperienced offensive line, we generated just above no pressure. So what are we going to do? How are we going to prepare for them? This is a stout offensive line that's able to produce on the ground and in the air. They have a quick tempo offense, which means he get the ball out of his hands. I think I saw some things where it was like 0.5 seconds, and Mariota was like 0.3, so he's pretty quick releasing the ball, though he is an inexperienced quarterback and is prone to make terrible decisions. As I watch both games, he also can make great plays on the fly.
I think that this defense that we thought that we had in the preseason, this awesome defense that we had, needs to show up.
We do have.
I think
awesome
last
defense.
week that they just didn't show up. I don't think anybody showed up to that game.
They showed up in the
JJ
first half.
showed up, Perryman showed up, and like maybe two or three other people.
Josh Reese,
Josh
Holman.
Reese definitely showed up.
The
Holman
defense showed up in the first half.
Second half.
Let's not completely discredit our entire defensive effort. It was really good in the first half. They were the reason why we're in the game. Especially against this offense, we desperately need to get pressure on the quarterback, period. If we can't get pressure on Mauk, Matty Mauk's going to tear us apart.
No, you're right. You're right. We definitely need to.
We can be stout against the run. Plummer and company can really step up and lay the wood on the running backs because they're not that big of guys.
They also run like a hurry-up, so
exactly.
We're going to definitely have to slow that down, and that leads into Kurt's next question. Matty Mauk threw 5 touchdowns and ran for another versus Toledo. Does UCF attempt to slow down the offense to keep the Mizzou offense off the field? In essence, shorten the game and limit their possessions. Absolutely.
Not.
Yes.
Like, how slow do you want us to go? Have you watched George O'Leary football in the past 25 years?
I have, and it can be very boring, but it gets the job done.
And how slow did we go against... We faced another team with an up-tempo offense. Who are they? Baylor. What happened?
I think that we probably sped it up a little bit and went right along with them, and we smacked them.
Did you watch Michigan State Oregon this weekend?
I did not get a chance to watch that.
Michigan State folded at the end, but a lot of teams that run a fast tempo offense don't do the same with their defense, and which kind of confuses me because you have to face your first team offense in practice. But it's not about the tempo of our offense. It's how many 3-and-outs do we do? How many turnovers do we give Mizzou? It's efficiency of our offense. If we're efficient on our offense, it's going to be beneficial for us, obviously. We're going to move the ball, score points. And then we're going to, transversely, we're holding on to the ball. Their offense isn't on the field. It's not how fast our offense is. It's how efficient our offense is. And it's how much pressure we get on Matty Mauk.
Yeah. He has not thrown an No, he did. He threw 2 interceptions this week. He
is prone to mistakes. That was like his 6th start. He's a young quarterback. He's used, in high school, from the Akron area, he had nearly 20,000 yards and 200 touchdowns passing in high school.
That's crazy.
That was Tecmo's Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah.
He has the mentality like Johnny Manziel that he can do it all on his own. And if we speed up his mental process, make him react as opposed to watch reads and stuff, we're going to force him into mistakes. And that's going to give, obviously, our offense the ball. And the same with Holman. If we're able to move the ball, then it doesn't matter how many touches we give their offense. More worried about the efficiency of our offense and the pressure we put on the quarterback.
I don't really mind slowing everything down and running up the middle and just, using up the clock as much as we can, though, if we're able to do that. If we have to play catch-up, of course, we can't do that. But I guess we'll see what kind of offense that UCF wants to come out with this week, because they've had a couple different ones. We've seen multiple, different looks last year, which is really cool. That, to be honest with you, the Baylor game, I'd never really even seen that offense before. That was much different than what we normally do.
I want a few more slants, like we hit the Reese for the touchdown, a few more bubble screens, such, get the ball to our playmakers a little more often. If the 3 yards and dust gives us first downs, if we slow it down and we're able to hold on the ball and we get first downs, if we're being efficient with that offense, I don't care if we win ugly or win pretty, as long as we win.
Yeah, as long as we win, I don't care what we do.
But if you do slow it down, you actually give their talented defensive line time to switch out, and our offensive line, they get to switch out. But if you run a hurried up offense, and I'm not suggesting that we do this, but if you do run a hurry up offense, it doesn't give them time to switch out, so you have tired defensive ends, and tired defensive ends going against offensive linemen, you have a greater chance to get greater protection.
Yeah. Well, they've got that big SEC, front line, and those guys are made to not wear out and to not wear out.
We bred them like a thoroughbred. I mean, they're talented. They have a talented front seven.
They're different than
higher end recruits than what we're getting, is what you're trying to tell me.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of classes are rated higher than ours, but what we've been able to produce on the football field and the wins that UCF has over the past 4 years, and then what we've been able to, that production has been able to translate to the professional ranks. There might not be that big of a gap in talent, just in depth there is at this moment.
Real quick, let's do some NFL stuff, and then we'll get back into the Missouri thing to finish the whole deal out. Brandon Marshall this week had 8 catches for 71 yards and 1 touchdown.
Not bad for fantasy owners.
Kamar Aiken had 4 for 30.
Which I would rather have him. I actually have Torrey Smith on my team. I should have snagged Aiken.
Yeah, I'm so glad that he made that team. And Latavius Murray had 3 kickoff returns, for averaging 22 yards, and the longest one was 38 yards. And then Camille Ishmael had 1 tackle for the Atlanta Falcons.
Good. At least he's getting in the game, getting some reps. They have a future plan for the kid. They talk about what a cerebral player he is, how intelligent he is.
Yeah, and I mean, all these guys, except for Brandon Marshall, are really still young players, so they haven't at all seen what they're going to see in the NFL. Jacksonville lost to Philly, 17-34.
Well, they were up 17-0.
They were. Blake, of course, was not in the game. We all knew that. Storm Johnson did not play at all this week either. He's, back in the depth, but he was out all week with an ankle. So, did not practice all week. They listed him as completely out. So,
I hope he comes back relatively soon and gets a chance on that squad.
I do too, because I think that he could really do some good there.
Well, if they forget that you have to play 2 halves, he might get some playing time down the road. Because they started off good. Henny looked competent.
If Henny forgets that you have to play 2 halves, they maybe need to do something about that. Because
maybe they're aiming the draft on the defensive side of the ball and maybe add some quality offensive linemen, get themselves some good draft position.
True.
Get someone to keep Bortles upright.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole show on that, but we don't really want to, and you guys don't want us to either, I don't believe. So, let's go right into the Missouri preview then. Even more than we already did with Kurt's questions. Let's, dig down and see what they've really got.
You want to start with quarterbacks?
Well, Matty Mock.
Kid's got talent.
He does. I mean,
Did you see that near the end of the game, he was rolling out to his left, had a linebacker coming to him, and he sidearmed this ball perfectly timed, weighted, if this was soccer, right into his slot receiver's path in the end zone. It was nice. The kid's got talent. A lot of this offense is about timing, and which leads me into their wide receivers, because we'll talk about Mock a little bit more and his playmaking ability. But they have a young, inexperienced receiving core. We have a very experienced, though soft last week, secondary who we know that Summers and O'Leary are going to get on in the next 2 weeks. How about some bump and run defense?
Something.
Get these guys off their timing. They have talent. They have speed. They're like Oregon, or I don't want to say they're like Florida because they have a winning record. Though Florida did beat Eastern Michigan, but a lot of their offense is predicated on timing. If you're able to get these receivers who, they're not very big guys. Their running backs are 5'9", under 200 pounds, and we'll touch on those guys. But they don't have a lot of physicality. They have a lot of speed. If you're able to disrupt that timing, Mauk just might not make good throws. He has more experience in Holman starting, and already has better stats.
And we've got some awesome defensive backs. So when they show up, I think that we could do this.
So we have to make Mauk uncomfortable. He can turn a broken play into a positive situation. He has that ability, a lot like Johnny Manziel did. I don't see him as elusive as Manziel. I don't see him as polished as Manziel. He's going to make mistakes. We're going to have to force him into more mistakes than what he's comfortable with. If he has time, he's going to slice us up. That's it. It's what it is. He has the confidence. He is that gunslinger. He actually reminds me quite a bit, and we're going back to your time, of Doug Flutie.
Nice. My time.
Maybe that's a little after your time. My bad.
Actually, I remember Doug Flutie.
But the kid has talent. He is going to produce. Hopefully he produces a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, I hope that we can just, disrupt him, make him...
It's going to be difficult because they have a rather stout offensive line. Then moving into the running backs.
Russell Hansbrough and Marcus Murphy.
They do a lot of draws. They do a lot of options. They do a lot of jet sweeps because they have the speed.
Marcus Murphy, I can tell you, he was one of the guys that stood out. I was watching the game against South Dakota that they were playing, and Marcus Murphy had one catch for a long touchdown out of the backfield, and a couple nice runs there as well. He is an impressive guy. He's a very athletic guy. I thought he was bigger than he is. He was only like 5'9", 190. I really thought that he was bigger than that. But
well, you're playing against FCF guys. Listen, the FCF guys, usually where you find your talent is on offensive line and some quarterbacks or wide receiver here and there, especially in skill positions. That means the secondary doesn't really take a lot of good angles to be able to disrupt a guy like Murray. Linebackers aren't able to get to him, especially if you get to the outside. They don't have that lateral speed, so it's going to highlight his abilities. This is where Plummer and Gray and them are going to, like Burkett, are going to be able to get in there, and we have to hit them hard early. Take the confidence away from these guys. Let these guys be worried about, getting hit. You have to be physical, much like Michigan State was early in the game against Oregon. Oregon was able to be just as physical back. I don't think Missouri has that capability, especially don't have that capability in offense. We're going to have to get down and dirty. We're going to have to hit them hard.
Stopping the run is definitely important. We've had issues stopping the run before. If you remember, South Carolina came out at the beginning of the third quarter last year.
And just ran the whole drive.
Ran it. Whoa. Stop. Get me off this crazy thing.
Are you having a stroke?
Something like that. All right. So anyway, they ran it, obviously. And then we kind of got really tired and needed some Gatorade or whatever, and that's where the whole game kind of went downhill. Even though we, lost at the last second or something like that.
It wore us down quite a bit, and you have an actual point. A lot of that is, do we win the initial line of scrimmage? Are we able to fill gaps? Are we able to collapse or push their offensive line back to, block lanes, to create pressure on the quarterback?
Pressure has got to come from our front seven.
Our front seven is where this game hinges. On the offensive side of the ball, it's efficiency and holding on to the ball. But defensively, all of it is on our front seven to get pressure on the quarterback and to slow those running backs down. I actually have a lot of confidence about the whole running game, about being able to shut them down, and how much speed we have. It's just we need to get them out of Mauk. Period. That's where it's at. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. We can't get to him, game over. Period.
Or we need to, shut down their receivers, and we do have shut down corners.
We have physical, strong guys to handle their speed, and when our safeties, I mean, they're experienced. Their wide receivers aren't experienced. They're not going to know how to handle a physical game. They're not going to be able to handle a team as intelligent as UCF especially if we get pressure on them. They're not going to be able to come back to the ball like our guys will be able to anticipate.
I think our secondary will have a much better game this week.
I guarantee you our secondary will have a much better game.
I think that they probably got the point that, I'm sure Coach got all over them and made them, practice a lot harder this week or whatever he does.
But our defensive line cannot leave them on an island, especially against that much speed.
That's true.
So much of this, I don't know if I can emphasize
how
much it has to fall on our defensive line.
Yeah, one of their receivers averages 22.6 a catch, and that's kind of a lot.
Well, that's against South Dakota State and Toledo. I know I've said Akron. Penn State played Akron. My apologies to everyone who thinks I'm marginally mentally delayed.
It happens. We knew what you were talking about. I knew what you were talking about. I should have stopped you. But I thought it was kind of funny, actually.
It is kind of funny.
I let you do it.
But going back, against South Dakota State and Toledo, they're not the caliber of team of UCF. And we know what Mizzou is. They're an SEC team. However, we're a good football team, too, especially on the defensive side of the football.
And we've beaten SEC teams before, so we can't, just be, it's a SEC team.
And we've always played to the caliber of our opponent. There's a lot to like about UCF in this game.
We do. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be hard to go to Columbia, and it's a big stadium. It's a ruckus environment. I mean, we've played in those places before though and done well. We will see. Everybody is just going to have to play a lot better.
And then speaking of which, on the offensive side of the football, what do we have to do?
We have to score points.
You are absolutely correct. We have to score points.
Well, I like to keep it simple.
And simple sometimes is how our offense is. And we're going to have to you want to keep it simple a little bit for Holman because he doesn't have a lot of snaps. But you want to, listen, Toledo, their quarterback would clap to let the center know they were ready. And as soon as that happened, the center would wait less than a second and snap the football. They need a cadence change. That's how their defensive line, and they have a very good defensive line, was able to pretty much jump every single snap.
Have you ever been to I'm sorry, this is a little off topic, but it just made me think about it. Have you ever been to a football game where there's deaf schools playing?
Negative.
For the hearing impaired? Oh man,
I
cool.
have seen baseball though.
They do a drum. Do they do the bass? They use a big bass drum because they can feel it and then that's when they snap it. It's really cool.
Oh, that is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah, I'm sorry.
The cadence that Toledo was using, immediately Missouri was able to pick up on it. They didn't have any adjustments, and they were able to jump every snap and create pressure. I mean, their tackles weren't even their defensive linemen were on the tackles before the tackles can extend their arms. Especially with our offensive line and the issues that we've had, we have to be smart about our cadence to keep them guessing and to draw a few offsides penalties or encroachment and just to give our offensive linemen a chance to be able to get their hands on them, put up, as Georgia Lawyer says, a body on a body, and go from there because they have a stout defensive line. I mean, sure, they lost Michael Sam. Maybe he was a product of the system, not so much as such a quality player, though he was a quality player. Let's not discredit him for that. But the rest of them behind them, they're speed, and we have speed on offense. We have speed in the receiving core.
Yeah, I guess Speedy's going to be back this week too, so we'll see.
Rennell Hall?
I hope so. Yes, I hope that he's back, and I heard that Stanback practiced and Speedy practiced, so we shall see. I hope to have those guys back because that makes a huge difference. We need Stanback so bad to just run it down these guys' throats. We did not do that very good against Penn State.
We had a bad running game, so we need to establish a running game. We need to be able to establish Stanback and Wilson. Have guys who have two different skill sets per se for running back to be able to do the play action to create time for Holman. And for us, we need to get the ball out to our receivers. Look what the plays that Reese and Perryman made just on those long throws. The fourth down catch by Reese and then the 50-yard catch by Perryman.
And honestly, that was with no running game. So, we're lucky that we got him to bite on those so we could actually throw those passes like that. But everybody knows, and if they watch any film from the second half, they'll know that Holman can definitely run. So
exactly, and he's not the size of Matty Malk. He's a big boy. He's not quite the size of Blake, but he was our top quarterback recruit when we went after him. He had a lot of offers from a lot of P5 schools.
I was honestly shocked when he was not named the starter at the beginning of the year. I was shocked.
I was anticipating him as well, but we're moving on now. We've gotten that he's in the position where he needs to be, and now we need to give him the chance to succeed. We need to develop a running game, and we need for him, early on, just get the ball out quick to keep the defensive line off of him, to keep the pressure basically off of Holman in two ways. For one, that he doesn't have to make every play himself, and two, the literal pressure from the defensive front.
Yeah, real quick here, just made me think of this. I do have a quote from Charlie Taff as well. And this was about, speaking of our offense, what surprised you during the game about our offense? It's a disappointment, obviously, is that I thought that we would be able to run the football better. With a new quarterback, a young quarterback without experience, we've said all along, it's not a secret, we have to be able to run the ball and take some of the pressure off the quarterback. We did not get that done with the kind of consistency we need. As we evaluate game and the people that are playing, we will make some adjustments there and help us accomplish that. We're going to have to be able to run the football. And that was Charlie Taff when asked about the Penn State game. So,
well, there you go. There's our offensive side of the ball, defensive line. Our defensive line is going to create the success or failure of our defense. The running game is going to create the success or failure of our offense.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, do we have a pick this week? What's your pick on this game? We didn't do very good with our picks last week.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. I have Mizzou by 10.
Okay, well, I'm going to say UCF by 3.
Reasonable. If I am wrong and UCF wins, I'm going to pick against UCF all year because I picked for them and we lost.
Yeah, well.
And I have no problem buying you a bunch of beers
if
UCF runs the table.
If that's what it takes. I think that whatever it takes, I'm willing to do.
Yeah, I don't see us getting pressure on Malk, and I see us improving, and we'll grab our first win at Bethune-Cookman, or at home against Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna be in for a surprise. Personally, I think that we're gonna get this done. I think it may be a close one. It may be another cardiac kid moment, but I think we're gonna get it done.
Can you handle that?
I was having, during the Penn State game, I was having chest pain. It was anxiety chest pain, obviously, but I kept going, oh my God, is this going to be the way that it ends?
I was hoarse from yelling at the screen.
I was too,
cheering.
and I've been kind of down under the weather this week, and I'm still a little depressed from that game, so that didn't help.
I threw a pancake at my friend. I was so pissed.
You threw a pancake?
I straight up threw a pancake at the poor guy. We were eating breakfast.
Oh my God.
I didn't even put syrup or anything. I just grabbed a pancake right after it was on a plate full of them.
You son of a...
I was eating them. I got mad. I turned. He was the closest person to me, and he got pancaked.
What did he say? He's like, dude, you just threw a pancake at
He just laughed. That's all he could do.
Thanks, man.
It's the first time I've ever thrown a pancake at someone.
Did you apologize?
Yeah, I think I did. Okay, Nate, I hit you with the pancake. I'm sorry, man, if I didn't apologize.
That is so funny. Hey, yeah, you're the guy that got hit with the pancake. All right. Well, that's it. We've gone a little bit over, but that's okay. So
I didn't know we had it to fit it. The music didn't come on this time just randomly, or did you turn that off?
I actually moved it down a little bit in the edit, so it didn't. So all right, well, this has been episode number 7. And hopefully it's lucky number 7 for us in UCF football. We will see you next week after the Missouri game. I'm hoping we're going to have maybe a special guest on here with us. We shall see. And
Jameson?
That's all I'm going to say. So we will see you after the Missouri game next week. This is Andrew Phegley and
this is Troy Ondrizek.
All right, that's it for us. We'll see you later. Charge on.
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold, charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y. Tonight our nights will shine. UCF, Knights. UCF, let's go Knights. UCF,